Well, my name is Kenneth Morris. I'm from Houston, Texas originally. Growing up in Houston, during the time I grew up in the 80s, basically 80s and 90s, to live below the poverty threshold was the norm, basically. I believe the average income annually was somewhere around $12,000, $15,000. So with the lack of money, the lack of resources, and the lack of just opportunity, drugs and crime and poverty pretty much took over the entire neighborhood and 80% of the city. So at that time, I didn't realize it because I was a kid. I thought this is how everybody lived. But as I became an adult and saw, well, hey, my grandmother's rent was only $400 and it was 9 of us living in this 2-bedroom home, it really made me have an appreciation. So I really got a chance to see more than I should have as a young person. Graduated from high school in Houston, went straight to the Navy, 3 weeks out of high school. Probably the best decision ever made. Spending my time in the military, traveling all over the world, looking for submarines. Met a ton of great people, and once I separated from the military, went to college for a couple years, got my degree in computer information systems, came back to Houston, saw that Houston, the kids were really still looking for something positive. The neighborhood didn't get better, actually it may have gotten worse. And that's when I took it upon myself to teach them what I knew. And I started my own small little organization, grassroots, just taking them to the airport, getting them out of the environment they were in and so forth. But that probably was the most rewarding thing that I'd done in quite some time, was helping those younger people just really get exposed to stuff that they would have had no idea about up until that point. So Universal Elite Aerospace is the organization that I founded November 12, 2013. And the reason I started it again was when I came back to Houston, I saw that it was a city with many resources, and I realized that the kids who lived in the inner city, we have 3 airports, and the pilots would come in and the FBOs, and they would stay at the airport. So there was a huge gap there where the kids were not getting to the airport and the pilots who were on layovers were not getting to the communities. So I was just figuring, okay, well, I can bring the kids out to the airport, and I've had great relationships with FBOs, and that's how it started, just giving them tours of the FBOs and giving them tours of the private jets. Things that they would see on TV, but they didn't realize that they had access to it. So accessibility was a huge part in what UEA was about. Accessibility, exposure, and then empowering the kids to say, okay, if I can do this, you can do this. Okay, so having the opportunity to be a part of a new program called Forces to Flyers, I found out about it through a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force who had some information about this new program, and he knew that I wanted to be a pilot. And he suggested that, you just stay abreast of what's going on with the program. Never in a million years I would think that I would get accepted, because I knew so many people coveted this particular position. So again, it's an elite program. Again, our first days in, they told us it was the best of the best applications. So for that to be considered, and then myself to be considered as one of the people, the finalists, and then get accepted, it's been a blessing. So in the program, again, we go from having basically minimal hours to becoming a private pilot, an instrument-rated pilot, a commercial pilot with multi-engine training, certified flight instructor, then a certified flight instructor instrument. So that training is about $75,000 that I just didn't have. So I made the choice, and it wasn't a hard choice at all, to leave my current position as the director of education at a $40 million museum to come and pursue this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Again, I don't regret it at all. I think it's been phenomenal, not only for myself, but for my son, to see me step out on faith and make those decisions to pursue my dreams. So if I was fortunate enough to receive this scholarship, even though the Department of Transportation has provided a significant amount of funding, I'm still liable for $13,500 of my own. That's a sizable amount of money for someone who was working a full-time job, and I do have children and a family that I'm supporting. If I received the $2,222.22, I would apply that towards my $13,500 debt at the moment. Again, I'm currently working overnight to offset those costs. Again, if I have to Uber and so forth, find other opportunities to create income to help offset that, it would be phenomenal to have the support of a scholarship. That would just be less stress, less burden, and I could focus more on the flight training. As I think about the legacy I want to leave or the impact I want to leave on people, I think it's really two words. It can be very broad or for me, I think just be kind, be respectful of each other. I was fortunate to see Luke in action on his page when he was speaking at the high school, and I firmly believe that is what he stood for, being nice and being courteous and caring for them, being selfless. And I see that not only in him, but that has inspired and motivated me even more.